Welcome to US-based news channel. We have entered a period in which one of the most important, breaking points of the war that has been going on for more than 15 months will be experienced. Events of the last 24 hours show that both armies will play all their cards to achieve significant success in the next 3 months. First of all, let's start our agenda by taking a look at the news from the front. Russian forces, which started an offensive operation on the Bakhmut, Marinka, and Avdiivka fronts at around 7 o'clock in the morning, carried out intense attacks especially against Ukrainian targets behind the defense lines. Intensity of the attacks of the Russian forces, which carried out a total of 125 air and missile strikes, targeted the highways used by the Ukrainian forces to bring reinforcements from the Chasiv region to Bakhmut. Taking action a few hours after these attacks, Russian tank and infantry units carried out dozens of attacks targeting the Bakhmut front. Having managed to repel 50 enemy attacks in total, the Ukrainian forces managed to destroy 18 Russian artillery systems, 2 multiple launch rocket systems and 16 military vehicles in their counterattacks. Official reports indicate that the loss of military personnel of the Russian army has increased even more, reaching 660. Russian commanders want their troops to continue the offensive despite poor ground conditions. Although most experts think that this decision of the Russian commanders caused the Russian army to suffer much heavier losses than expected, Russian General Gerasimov does not seem to back down. News shared a few minutes ago shows that Russian President Vladimir Putin is not satisfied with the course of the conflicts on the front, and used his strongest trump card to change this situation. Regarding this matter, you may recall, a few days ago the Wagner Group leader announced that he would withdraw his army from the Bakhmut front. In the meantime, more than one meeting took place between the Russian military leadership and its allies. A few minutes ago, Chechen leader Ramadan Kadyrov announced on his Telegram account that he is ready to move his troops from the Akhmat unit to the city of Bakhmut. Kadyrov announced that his fighters were on war alert and were awaiting orders from Putin. Kadyrov says they will carry out in every possible way Putin's order to capture Bakhmut, claiming that several of his troops are already on the move. Chechen leader says he is confident that despite all the rumors that the Ukrainian armed forces are carrying out violent attacks, they will liberate the city in the near future. Most striking aspect of Kadyrov's long statement was that he said that they started working with the Russian Ministry of Defense, and that the tactics had already been shaped. This indicates that Putin authorized the transfer of Kadyrov's troops to Bakhmut. More interestingly, this statement of Kadyrov shows that the Chechen leader betrayed the Wagner Group. Recently, Russian sources have been sharing reports that 2 hostile groups have formed within the Russian military leadership. The first consists of Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Gerasimov, and the second consists of the Wagner Group and Ramazan Kadyrov. Conflicting interests of these 2 groups turned them into enemies. However, this statement of the Chechen leader shows that he has changed sides. This indicates that both the Russian military leadership and Kadyrov tried to disable the Wagner Group. Although the Russian military leadership is not aware at the moment, these troubles could lead to a violent internal conflict in the coming days. Worse still, the Ukrainian army continues to take steps to reach the peak of its power, while the Russian military is trying to resolve its internal problems. In this context, according to the news shared by the Defense Express newspaper a few minutes ago, precision-guided APCOS rockets are already used by the Ukrainian army. Examining the images shared on social media, the newspaper reported that the Ukrainian army integrated land LGR-4 missile launchers into Humvee armored vehicles. We have rarely come across this missile launcher, normally used on air platforms, to be integrated into an armored vehicle. These missile systems, which can launch APCOS missiles with a range of 8 kilometers, can enable the Ukrainian army to create wonders with war vehicles. Considering that the biggest problem of the Ukrainian army at the moment is its inability to intensify missile and artillery bombardments, we can say that such developments will be of great benefit on the front. Even better, considering that APCOS missiles can shoot much more accurately than other missiles in the hands of the Ukrainian army, it seems highly likely that we will witness the destruction of Russian ammunition depots and command centers with these missiles in the coming days. While the Ukrainian army continues to make minor improvements to increase its strength, the Russian military adheres strictly to the old generation war strategies. According to the statement made by Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Inat, the Russian Air Force launched 6 Kh-22 missiles at different targets in Ukraine a few hours ago. It was reported that 5 missiles hit different points in the Mykolaiv region. However, the Ukrainian official states that these missiles have accuracy problems and often miss their targets. Official reports indicate that the Kh-22 missile can miss its target by an average of 600 meters. This missile deflection rate, which is quite embarrassing for a country like Russia that defines itself as a superpower, shows that the power of long-range missiles in Russia's hands is overstated. Worse still, when we look at the current general situation of the Russian army, we see that their only trump card is long-range missile attacks. It is obvious that about 6 months ago, the Russian Air Force completely lost its influence on the front. After the Russian commanders launched the Donbass offensive, the Russian ground forces also faced a sad end for the Air Force. These problems made it impossible for the Russian army to achieve its operational goals. Making statements about this situation, C0llapse, head of the main intelligence service of Ukraine, stated that Russia does not have the potential to carry out a large-scale attack anywhere in Ukraine. As of now, Russia does not have the military, economic or political potential to attempt a large-scale attack anywhere in Ukraine, Budanov said. At the same time, according to the head of defense intelligence of Ukraine, Russia still has the ability to conduct serious defense operations, and this is a serious problem that Ukraine will have to face. Underlining that Russia continues to stockpile long-range missiles to repel the counterattacks of the Ukrainian army, the Ukrainian official thinks that they must overcome important obstacles to achieve their operational goals. Despite a serious loss of power, the Russian army still poses a serious threat. Considering that the Russian forces created a defense line longer than 1,000 kilometers, we can say that the Ukrainian ground forces must perform at a high level in order to carry out a successful offensive operation. But some experts believe that the end of Russia is near. US political analyst Janusz Bogaczki reported in an exclusive interview with the Kiev Post that he predicted that Russia would soon and dramatically disappear. According to the analyst, Putin's dominance will weaken significantly in the next year due to territorial losses in Ukraine that the Kremlin cannot hide, as predicted, and a sharp decline in economic conditions and government services next year. After Putin's term ends, the collapse will only accelerate as internal power struggles intensify and risky moves by some regional leaders increase. Analyst, who thinks that Russia's failure in Ukraine is preparing the end of the country, thinks that the reason for these troubles is Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russian leader, who started the war for purely personal purposes, caused his country to lose a large part of both military and economic power. Reports shared by open sources think that it may take at least 15 to 20 years for Russia to regain its former power. Sources say that even if the war is over, Western states' sanctions against Russia will continue, which will lead to the weakening of the Russian economy day by day. End of Russia seems pretty nigh, considering that China, Russia's closest ally, won't risk itself to save Russia. As we mentioned in our previous videos, the winner will always be the Western Bloc, as it was about 100 years ago. Events in history have shown that the end of states that pursue aggressive policies has always been sad. Information on the subject is limited to these. We will continue to monitor the world and especially Ukraine. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.